over a treat begging exercise, which will be perfect for Maverick right now because he is begging for treats nonstop. So this is what I like to do with a horse that will not stop begging you and driving you crazy about treats the whole session, and you can't get anything accomplished. Back him up. All right. Over here. See a little bit better. Okay, so if they're begging, we are going to not give them the treat. And basically, that is the key to it. And there's more to it, because obviously if your horse is aggressive and they're chomping at you and they're chomping at your hand, then that's not good. But you're basically going to have your little bubble here, and you can put your whip kind of small, and you can just wave yourself around like this. You can also do this with the end of your lead rope if you want. I have this little tail on the end of mine, which works really great, but you can just go like this, and this can be your personal space. So I would say if ever you are doing liberty work and your horse is starting to become a beggar and starting to want to be all up in your space, I would definitely use this exercise. You can tell that immediately worked with Maverick. He's not even going to try to come up and beg anymore because he knows that I'm going to block my space. Now I'm going to invite him back into my space so I can show you the other part of it. But for the most part, do not let them even get close enough to be able to beg. If they're this close and they're trying to nibble at you, then they're too close. And you can back them up, or you can just use your thing and just say, this is my space. And you don't have to feel bad about twirling that thing around. And if he's in the way, you'll see he's like, oh, this isn't a fun place to be. I'm going to back up and I'm going to respect her space for that. So that's really important. Another thing to do is basically, if you have dogs or you work with dogs at all, is a leave it command basically without actually saying leave it. So what you're going to do is you're going to have the treat in your hand, you're going to put it near their face so that they do start begging, and you're just going to hold it like this until they don't get the treat. No matter what, you do not give them the treat, and you wait until they finally give up on it. And now he's giving up. Well, it's mostly just because there's a fly, so I'm going to wait. And the second that he does give up, you can make your cluck noise. You can use your official clicker if you want. Good. And then you give the treat. So this is going to train him that the only time he gets a treat when your hands are around his face is when he is staying straight with his head or even tilting away. If he tilts away, even better. But the second that he just gives up on this, good, and puts his head straight, that's when I'm going to give him the treat. And we've already done this also, so he's also very good at showing you the example of how to train this. Eventually your horse will get really good where they will sit and they'll kind of beg for a minute, and then they'll put their head away and see if that will get them the treat. And then if you wait long enough, they'll come back to begging and then go back away again. So that's kind of where Maverick's at. Good. And then you also just want to always feed them the treat down here somewhere between their head and their chest. So I'm going to turn him a little bit this way so you can see more. Okay. Alright. So hopefully you'll be able to see where I give him the treat once I give it to him. So he's begging, not begging. Now I'm going to put it under here and almost away from him, like that. And you'll see, I'll do it on the other side so you can see it's almost on the complete other side. Okay. Try this again. He's begging, he's begging, he's begging. We just keep our hands closed. If you have to, you can do your little windmill and get him out of your space. You don't want to do the windmill every single time he tries to beg, because for this exercise you really want him to be begging so that you can teach him not to beg. So you don't really want to shove him out of your space if you can help it for this specific. Good. And now I'm going to give it to him down here and way over on the other side of his body. That way he knows that he never gets the treat over here when he's reaching out to me. He never gets to get into my space and get a reward for that. The only time he gets a reward is when he's staying over there, staying out of his space, respecting me, and he doesn't always get a reward. So if I'm teaching him something new, I can give him a reward 3 or 4 or 5 times After that, you don't need to do it every single time he does the new thing. You can phase it out over time, and eventually you won't even really need the treats, or you can do a whole presentation at Liberty and then give him a treat at the end. So overall, that's what it takes when it comes to the begging and the mouthy horses. You just have to have a lot of patience. Maverick is an amazing Liberty horse. He's an amazing trick horse, but you can see he obviously still is a very big beggar, and he thinks he can get away with it, and we haven't worked on this in a long time. So good, that was close. And now that he knows the drill, I'm gonna wait until he's really, really good, because he already knows how to do this. And if they really don't stop and they're really just in your space so much, I'll just use your rope, get them to back up, see if that will help them get to a neutral spot where they can just calmly stand for 1 second, and then they can have a treat for that. A lot of horses will really try to nip at you and try to get the treat and shove their head in. So if that's the case, then yeah, just move him away. But he's still, you can see, he's begging there. Oh, that was a second where he didn't beg and he kind of looked away. You're not going to get the treat for begging. Basically, you have to train this into them, or they will always just want to come and get the treats. If you don't spend the time and do this, it's going to be really hard for you to come up here and do a specific cue and get them to do the specific thing if they're always just worried about the treats like this. So now I'm doing the cue, I want him to do the thing, and instead he's just so focused on the food. There. Good. Now stop and relax, and he doesn't always need the food all the time. So don't feel bad for using your hand like this or your lead rope like this just to get your personal bubble back. Your horse doesn't need to be in your personal bubble, and you can use your rope and your hand to protect your little bubble. Now don't retaliate. So if they're coming to nibble you and they accidentally nibble you, that just tells you that you never stopped them before they got to that point of being too far. If they do try to nibble you, don't come back at them and say, oh, you bit me, right, I'm gonna go into your space, because that's only gonna cause a horse where you go like this and they freak out and they pull back and they're all scared of you. You don't want a horse that's scared of you, because you want to be able to come up to their face and do specific exercises and lower their head and do the bow and do things where you do have a treat. I can't do the bow unless I'm able to have this treat all the way through. Good boy. You're so lazy. That's a lazy bow. But you can't do things like that unless you really are able to have the treats around their face and be able to lure them and show them without them trying to nibble you to pieces. So there is a time for treats, and you have to train that into them, and you have to say, now is not the time for treats. So, oh, that was better. He kind of looked away. He thought about it. I'm going to wiggle a little bit towards him, tell him no. This is not the time for that. Good boy. And then when he's relaxed and calm and in a neutral position with his head, then you give the treat. So I hope this helps with your mouthy horses. Maverick, obviously, if you let him, will try to rip this whole bag off my waist. So you really have to have boundaries and hold strong to your boundaries, but you can do so much with Liberty if you do incorporate the treats. So I highly suggest doing it and just doing this drill, and you might have to do it every single time you do Liberty work. You might have to stop what you're doing in the middle, and all of a sudden I'm trying to teach him something and he just cannot focus, and I have to stand and do this for 10 minutes and just say, no, we're not getting the treat all the time. We're getting it when you're calm, cool, and collected, and in a neutral position. Good. Yay. So I hope this helps.